Ciao guys, Cullen Gandy here and welcome to my channel where I talk about personal finance, mortgage finance, business, lifestyle, and anything that can help you get to that next step on your financial journey. And today I want to talk a little bit about a topic that is very close to my heart, or at least perhaps is just sort of wrapping around my heart and squeezing me until I eventually die. Yes, of course, I'm talking about student loan debt. So if you're familiar with any of the other financial YouTube videos, you're going to hear a lot of smack talk about people who have student loan debt and who get an education for these obscene prices for what they could have probably gotten for a free library card. I am not going to be one of those people. I think that the college experience and the college education is a very valuable thing in so much that it is kind of intangible. It's not something that you can point at and say, hey, look at all this money I have. But at the end of the day, I feel like me personally, I have sort of benefited as a whole person from having gone to college. But as of today, January 12th, 2021, we are sitting in a very unique situation with student loan debt, as we are transferring over into a new administration and one that may be fairly friendly to forgiving a little bit of that debt. So, what are the chances that we are going to get some of our debt, if not all of our debt, forgiven? And what do we think about that as a whole in the society? I know a lot of people are sort of resentful that they had to pay off their debt. Some people are like, please God help me, I'm never going to lose this. So, I mean, it's a controversial topic. In fact, comment down below whether or not you think we should forgive some or all of our student loan debts that we currently hold in the US. By the way, guys, if you like videos like this, please consider hitting that like button, gently stroke the subscribe button and the notification bell so that I can continue bringing more content like this to you. Also, it helps me immensely with the YouTube algorithm, and I can't thank you enough. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock for the past 6 months, you may be surprised to know that we are entering into a new presidential administration, and one that is Democratic instead of the last one, which was Republican. This could mean that there could be new opportunities for people who currently hold student debt obligations, and new opportunities for new students entering into their first year of college or community college or even trade school. And with almost $1.74 trillion with a T in student debt in the United States of America, some would say it can't really come too soon. But to understand how your student debt obligations could change, we have to understand what the Biden administration has already said about how these new student debt laws could be rolled out, what the new Congress actually might think because they're a Democratic majority Congress, and what other consumer advocacy groups and student groups have to say on the matter and how much power they really have. Now, first things first, the Biden administration has laid out some pretty ambitious plans for how current students are going to be able to meet their new student debt obligations in 2021. First of all, if you're an incoming college freshman, if the Biden administration has its way, if your family makes less than $125,000 a year, your family will pay no tuition on any public colleges or universities. This is absolutely huge. For me, when I was going to my undergraduate program at Georgia State University, I had the benefit of the Hope Scholarship, which was paid by the Georgia Lottery. But not a lot of people have an opportunity like that around the United States. In fact, programs like this have begun to cover less and less of the cost of college over time. For those of you who have received a Pell Grant going to college, that cost used to cover 70 to 80% of the college experience for most students in the 80s and 90s. While currently, it only really covers about 30%. And while the costs of college are going up, the relief seems to be stagnating or going down with inflation. So to account for this phenomenon with the Pell Grant, the Biden administration is proposing doubling the eligible amount for each of the Pell Grants to help cover more of that cost for new students and hopeful workers in the new economy. For folks just getting out of college, the Biden administration has proposed a really bold plan where if you're making $25,000 or less and you have some substantial student loan payments to be making currently, you won't have to make them in the future. Anyone making less than $25,000 a year will have no interest being accrued on their loan and no payments to be made as a part of the new income-based repayment plan. And finally, if you're one of the more ancient millennials, such as myself, the Biden administration is proposing with the new Student Borrower Bankruptcy Relief Act to give people the option to discharge some of this student debt in bankruptcy, which, if you don't know, is not an option right now, and is causing people in their 40s and 50s to be still in debt from student loans. 1 in 10 Americans hold some kind of significant student debt into their 40s and 50s. As for the Congress itself, it has its own ambitious plans for how to address what has now become a student debt crisis. In past administrations, Democratic and Republican Congress people have proposed at least $10,000 in student debt relief, especially if you meet certain income brackets or ethnic minorities that are considered disenfranchised. Other congressional leaders, mostly on the left, have even gone a step further, with things like the Student Debt Emergency Relief Act, which asks for $30,000 in across-the-board student debt relief. And perhaps the most ambitious idea comes from the Black Caucus in Congress, which has created a proposal called the Jobs and Justice Act, which asks for an across-the-board relief of $50,000 to all student loan debts. This would wipe out a huge portion of the American student loan debt, as an average of 43 million people have a loan debt of about $36,500 total. And finally, there's the consumer and student advocacy groups who have their own platforms, especially Student Debt Relief Crisis Group and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You know, the one that saved us from the financial crisis of 2007. Those folks are making a moral argument and an economic argument for why this might or might not be a good idea. But tell me what you think. Some people say if you wipe out a lot of student debt, that you give a lot of other people the opportunity to participate in the economy by buying houses, by purchasing more goods and services, and by starting new businesses. Whereas on the other side, there's the big moral hazard of giving out money without having any responsibilities attached to it. Personally, I think that there's an argument that can be made on both sides of the spectrum. And it's up to you to really decide with your vote and with your ideas what you think about it. And if you like this video, guys, let me know in the comments. Hit that like button for me, triple tap the subscribe button so you do end up actually being subscribed, and hit that notification bell so I can bring you more fabulous content like this. Of course, I will be back when you come back, and peace.